All right, colleagues, get ready to start voting session. And we are live. As I said, we're going to be voting every day. We are going to have a hearing tomorrow on the economic, whatever, the port bill and the economic solution that we're trying to provide. So keep your head open, keep your mind open and your head on a swivel. We are probably going to be voting every day. In fact, we may be voting multiple times depending on the way the bills come in. If a lot of the alcohol bills that we have not received any kind of letters of support for, those are just going to die. So if you guys have any that you care about, you got to get us these letters because we can't keep waiting. I think Friday is going to be pretty much the deadline. After that, everything else is going to be sunk. So make sure you guys, if you have something you care about, please get that letter. We are going to start with voting. We're going to hold the first bill, which is House Bill 1180. I'm sorry.
Look at your look at that. Thank you.
1180.
That's the one they have.
All right, we're not holding that bill
We don't even see it.
because it doesn't even exist. Okay. That has nothing to do with it because it doesn't exist. I was looking at an old list. Okay, with it. About what? The cigarette bill? On the cigarette bill? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you got it. You can get it. I got you. That's fine. Yep. All right. House Bill 1239.
House Bill 1239 is substantively the same as Senate Bill 542 as passed by this committee.
Are there any questions on this bill? They're not. We thought about it.
That's why I held it to begin with.
Huh?
They're gonna substitute,
What was the other number? What was the quasi cross-file number? All right, was it moved? On this bill, is there any discussion? Is there gonna be any opposition to this bill, Stephen? I know. Do we need to do a roll call, guys? I see Wyville reading. That's never a good thing. But we can just do it. We can do a roll call if you guys want. Let's just do a roll call. Mr. Vice Chair.
Aye.
Delegate Harrison. Delegate Boafo. Yep. Delegate Howard. Delegate Charkoudian. Delegate Rose is excused. Delegate Pruski. Delegate Fennell. Delegate Turner. Delegate Valderrama. Delegate Chi. Delegate Frazier-Dago. Delegate Adams. Delegate Arentz. Delegate Pippi. Delegate Jackson. Delegate Johnson. Delegate Rogers. Delegate Ampry. Delegate Wyville. Delegate Fisher. Delegate Queen. Bill passes unanimously. Next bill, please.
House Bill 1277, as introduced, the bill establishes that a healthcare-related physical intervention that was reported as an adverse event to the Maryland Department of Health does not constitute a use of force incident by a security guard. There's an amendment in your packet to amend the House bill to conform to its Senate cross-file.
Move the amendment.
Seth, is this discussion on the amendment or on the bill? On the amendment, any questions? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Any opposition? Hearing none. Discussion on the bill. Seth? Go ahead. Seth?
So is this this is like a daily report, or is this only when use of force, and what is that use of force defined as?
Go ahead.
A weekly report for
Okay.
healthcare facilities,
Okay.
aggregate, not by incident.
What do you mean by aggregate?
The total
So
number.
weekly, they would just report to the Maryland State Police Department how many incidents they have
Okay.
in these two broad categories, whether security guard is deployed, which is code purple, or if it's disruptive, harmful behavior, which is code green. That's it.
Okay. Does it also report the actions taken? Or just report that they were deployed and based on what
It does not go
circumstance?
into details at this point.
So-
And no patient information is allowed to share.
So there's no outcome information attached to the report,
No, not to that level of details.
no after action. Okay.
No.
Still in, are they still reporting to theirs?
What?
I thought that was in the other bill. The VAERS. I don't know, I thought the adverse, isn't there a board that deals with adverse? Thought that was in
The original bill and in this bill as it is amended, they report to the Secretary of State Police.
Wait, are you talking about a specific kind of reporting? Do you have a page number you're looking at?
Yeah, I was looking at.
That's fine, because I know we have a Senate bill. Okay. Do we need to do a roll call? On the bills amended, Mr. Vice Chair,
Aye.
Delegate Harrison, Delegate Boafo, Delegate Howard, Delegate Charkoudian, Delegate Rose. Excuse me, excused. Delegate Pruski, Delegate Fennell, Delegate Turner, Delegate Valderrama, Delegate Chi, Delegate Frazier Dago, Delegate Adams, Delegate Aaron's, Delegate Pippy, Delegate Jackson, Delegate Johnson, Delegate Rogers, Delegate Amprey, Delegate Weigel, Delegate Fisher, Delegate Queen. Bill moves as amended. Next bill, please. We're holding Senate Bill 478. Hopefully it'll be on the list tomorrow. Next bill, please.
Is Senate Bill 541, which establishes consumer protections and regulatory requirements related to online data. The amendments in your packet, amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 conforms to section to be the same as that in the House bill and alters an exemption for those regulated under the insurance article. Amendment number 3 requires a certain disclosure requirement related to selling or sharing personal data and specifies how the disclosure requirement must be displayed and prohibits the selling of personal data as a condition of participation in a loyalty program. Amendment number 4 conforms the bill to the language in the House bill regarding compliance with the various state, federal, other governmental laws. Amendment number 5 limits the liability for a controller that remains in compliance with the law, even though they shared the data with a processor. And amendment number 6 adds the severability provision.
With the amendment.
On the amendments in discussion, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, hearing none.
With the bills amended.
On the bills amended, is there any questions? Delegate Adams.
Thank you, Chair. So cancel on page 36. Now, this may not include the amendments, but I want to go to line 8, which relates to 14-4613. Is there still private right of action in this bill?
No, this bill is specifically in section 14-4613. It specifically says, subject to the enforcement and penalty provisions contained in Title 13, except section 13-408 of this article, which is the private right of action.
Okay, so counsel, when you read the following line, it says this section does not prevent a consumer from pursuing any other remedy provided by law. How is that not construed to be a private right of action?
That
Like,
is a
is that-
great question, but is
Yeah.
the private right of action under the Consumer Protection Act is not at play here. So I'm
Okay.
not sure.
Because we
Exactly.
specify that you don't have a private right of action, so that leaves any other civil recourse beyond a private right of action.
Just, could you give
Follow-
me,
I
give me
would
some
say
examples of what
File
other,
a complaint with the AG's office.
Better Business Bureau.
Yeah,
anything like
Better
that.
Business Bureau. You can go to another agency,
Okay.
but you can't take them to court.
okay. And is the notice to cure, it seems like to me the division has the responsibility, or they may issue notice that a cure is possible. Is it possible that they would say that no cure is possible, but
Yes.
the offender in this case does think there's a cure possible, and how would that get reconciled?
Well, I believe the way it goes, the OAG is the office who's gonna be bringing suit. If they don't believe there's a cure possible, ergo you sold a bunch of data, you can't unring that bell. Then they can go ahead with suit. Now, these people can argue, well, no, we do have, well, that's fine. That'll be taken up in court.
Okay, all right. You mentioned the loyalty. Could you explain the amendment in the loyalty program? And
Basically what it does,
the question is, did we solve the nature of the concerns?
well, I believe we did. I'm sure there'll be people, but it doesn't. Prior to this, as I originally drafted the bill, we originally drafted the bill, a loyalty program could not sell data, period. And what we've done is say, fine, you can sell data, but it must be displayed, you know, up front and center. And it cannot be a condition of the loyalty program. So if I just say, yeah, I want to be a part of your loyalty program, but I don't want you to sell my data, I do not give you permission to sell my data, I still get all the benefits of being in that loyalty program. So it didn't solve everybody's problems, but it solved a majority of the problems because they can opt out of their data being sold. But if they choose to opt into the loyalty program, or they opt in the loyalty program, then their data they can still sell their data for whatever that's worth, as long as the person knows they have an opportunity to take away that permission to sell the data.
Yeah,
And
so
just to add to that, from the largest entities that were opposed to that, to the original provision, are now in favor of it. This is their
This
suggestion.
is their suggestion.
okay, so I'm thumbing through the bill here on my phone, and I think I've got all my questions answered for now. I may speak on the bill before we vote it.
Seth?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what's the threshold for any type of complaint to be acted upon by the AG's office? So,
You talk about the number of, like, size of
yeah,
business?
yeah, so is there a threshold?
Is it
So,
like 35,000?
Yeah,
Is
so that would be
35,000
to whom the bill-
customers, or 10% of your business of your income is derived by selling data, or 25,000? Go ahead.
Yeah, you controlled or processed the personal data of at least 35,000 consumers, excluding personal data controlled or processed solely for the purpose of completing a payment transaction. So payments aren't included, or you controlled or processed the personal data of at least 10,000 consumers and derive more than 20% of your gross revenue from the sale of that personal data.
yeah, but back to the heart of my question is the Office of the Attorney General, what does it take for them to activate as far as a lawsuit is
A
concerned?
violation of this law.
One?
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm getting at is it's not based on a ratio of data held, so
So if you
the smaller
sell,
business would be more vulnerable.
well, a smaller business would have to control 35,000 different individuals' personal data. So I don't know how small
Well,
a
based
small
on-
business is.
Well, based on social media platforms, that's easier to obtain.
And again, right, so if you have 35,000 people's data, then you
Mhm.
need to be held to a standard.
Mhm.
If you consider that a small business, I see your point, depending on what personal data you're collecting. And again, but we want them under this bill. If you're collecting 35,000 different individuals' data, we want to make sure you're only collecting what you need to collect. The data minimization, we will make sure that they know that your data is that their data is being sold or not. These
I
are just
guess-
permissions.
I guess I'm just looking for parity, equity, equality, whatever it is. You know, obviously Google holds more data than, you know, whatever, Kohl's or whatever small business that's Maryland based. So the Office of the Attorney General could activate based on one complaint for a small business in Maryland versus one complaint versus Google. Those are two totally different territories as far as the law is
But
concerned.
activation doesn't mean that you're going to be hit with the same amount you'd be hit with the Google. The fines are going to be different. They're going to be in parity to the crime or the of what's committed, if they're indeed found to be at fault. But we do want any of these individuals that are selling data without permission, especially once this bill passes, to be held accountable. I think we'd all agree it's a law. People should know that their data is being sold.
No, I get it. I'm a little bit concerned, especially as far as smaller or small Maryland-based businesses being not targeted. I don't think that the OAG is targeting people.
Right.
But and that's a terrible word, but I'm going to use it, targeted, so to speak, based on one consumer complaint versus a global conglomerate like Google being.
If we can be honest though on that, and I get where we're going again, we did think about, but it's not like whoever's there is going to have sold one of the individual's data. If they have over 35,000 individuals' data, there's no money in selling just one.
But there's no safeguards in the bill to prevent the activation of the OAG's office based on one complaint.
And nor should there be, because at the end of the day, if you're controlling over 35,000 individuals' data, we want you to be held to a standard.
Sure.
There has to be a
Sure,
line.
but those standards are different for small Maryland-based businesses versus, let's say, Google.
Well, they're not. That's the point. However,
Well, they
The,
should, well, in essence, I think based on size and scale.
so you think that smaller business should be able to sell data without?
No,
telling you?
I'm not saying that they should be able to sell data at all based on this legislation. What I'm saying is that, the OAG can activate based on one complaint on a small Maryland-based businesses versus one complaint to, let's say, Google.
Yes,
And
sir.
I think that there, as far as scalability is concerned, there is a absolute difference between the $1,500 an hour legal team at Google versus the $250 an hour legal team at, Buddy's Crab House,
Mhm.
is what I'm getting at.
That's me. Right. No, what I'm saying, all that to say is we have a standard. Had to draw a line in the sand somewhere. It was 3,500. And anything below that, they don't fall in line with this. Anything above that, they do. And I understand the whole small business implication, but we do hope that small businesses, even those that go below 3,500, 35,000, will agree to not sell people's data. Just tell them, because the requirements aren't that onerous. It really is just letting people know, hey, we're collecting your data and we're going to sell it.
I just see that there's the potential for spillage. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
And more, less sophisticated, I don't want to say less sophisticated, but less sophisticated business, smaller Maryland-based businesses. I think that there's more potential for spillage as far as the selling of data of maybe somebody that opted out versus somebody that didn't, based on, again, the size and scalability and the sophistication of a Google.
Gotcha. No worries. Steve.
Forgot my question. No. Yeah, something came to mind when you were talking about opting out. If I opt into one of these programs, it's like, let's say I opt in something about a stock and it says something about this company and its affiliates. And then I want to opt out. Does this cover anything of opting out of all their affiliates, or do I only opt out of the one that I just said to? Does that make sense?
Barely.
No.
So let me repeat what I think you said.
Oh, then I'll tell you what I did say.
There you go. So what I think you said was, let's say you are with the company, they have several affiliates.
Well, they said, if you sign up for this, you sign up for this, and I say, okay, but in there, and it says, this is ABC company and its affiliates. And I say, okay, because I want that information. I don't mind what you're doing with that information. Then I get done with that information and I want to sit down and say, unsubscribe, I want to opt out. I hit that opt out button. What am I opting out of?
So your opt out would be of that initial controller sharing your data with anyone else.
Just that one, not the others, or.
So if you're opting out, that initial controller should not be sharing your data with anyone. So it's not even the others, because they shouldn't have your data, because your opt out, it was you, and I don't want to use a company's name. That's what I'm trying not to do. But your initial opt out is with that main company. So that main company has your data,
Yes.
and your data should go no further than that first initial company.
But when I say I'm going to opt in, I share it with that company and its affiliates. It's what they ask. They ask, we're going to
Yes.
share this with our company and its affiliates.
Yes.
So the only one I can opt out of then is that company, not the affiliates.
If you were,
I would say no, because if you're saying you're saying you opt in, so all the affiliates didn't get your information.
No, they
And
did.
they did, and at some point you want to opt out and say
Correct.
no longer. So the individual you made that agreement with, they can't disseminate any more of your information.
Okay.
But you're worried that their affiliates.
Yeah, the affiliates have my information.
Mhm.
What can I do about them?
As far as now, under this bill, you can always, anybody who holds your information.
you can go
always-
back, that's part of the consumer rights. You can go
Yeah.
back and ask them to get rid of your information.
But that could be 100 businesses.
That's why you have to read that print when they say who they're sharing the
Absolutely right.
businesses with, who they're sharing your information with, because you're very correct. They could be sharing it with 50, 100, 200 different entities, and they
Can we
have to let you
journalize
know.
what you just said? I'm very correct. Could we journalize
It's
it?
very, you should. It won't happen again. But the point is, that's why you're right on the button if you don't read, but they also have to let you know, because right now they're doing it. They're just not telling you there's 100 folks out there. At least now you'll know before you say good idea that there's 100 other people that they're gonna get your data. They'll now have that data, anything, and even if you opt out with these people, you're gonna have to reach back out to those individual 100, which may be a little more disconcerting, which means you might not opt in.
Okay, thank you.
Doug Waffo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. My good friend from Anne Arundel County prompted me to ask a question to council. So he talked about in reference the, kind of the threshold for suits, right? I want to make sure that we have this on the record. The same threshold that exists in this bill would also exist in multi-state bills for threshold and what the Attorney General can do across multiple states that have online privacy bills, correct?
I'm being honest, I'm not sure what's in other states and what they can do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And yeah,
It depends, and it also, I mean, it depends on the data privacy bill that is in other states, like this has been taken primarily from Delaware. There
Mhm.
are components though that come from Connecticut, but it also depends on what the consumer protection statute is for those AGs in those states as well.
Right.
So it could tie it to their consumer protection acts, but then it also comes down to what does their consumer protection act
I guess,
say?
Mr. Vice Chair, I guess the question I really am trying to get to for the record is that the benefit of having it in this model means that Maryland at some point can join other states once we figure out what actually is happening in the marketplace if there are bad actors, right?
And like in terms of forming a compact?
Oh, forming a compact?
No, a multi-state suit.
Yeah,
Well,
we could, yeah, I mean, we could, there could be a class
Yeah,
action suit.
But we, again, the standards we set, they have to fall under those standards if they're in another state,
Correct.
obviously. Yes.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further discussion on this bill? Ooh, oh, gotta let you, oh, go ahead.
So we had the, I like it. So I've already spoken in committee on the other bill. This is the Senate version of the same bill, so I'll be brief. And just let me just say that Delegate Boafo's comments brought rise to a point I'd like to make, which is that it's a shame that our federal government doesn't have a little bit more leadership on the subject. Watching Maryland do this in isolation with other states that are doing other things, watching Maryland copy bits and pieces of this when perhaps a more national conversation over this. I'm not running for anything, so don't misunderstand. But what I am saying as a Maryland delegate, I worry when we take patchwork quilt, and that's what this is. It's one state trying to drive policy for the entire nation. It's going to come with unintended consequences. And look, at the end of the day, what this will look like in the eyes of the consumer is going to be a very lengthy disclosure that very few people are going to read. And yes, it will require the consumer to push a button and say, I opt in, which the vast majority of people will. And who are we really protecting at that point? But what we've done is we've thrown a regulatory burden on a organization or organizations, and they'll meet it. But at the end of the day, have we really achieved anything under the bill? And Mr. Chairman, notwithstanding the work that you have put on this bill, and this has been a multi-year subject for the committee, and I do appreciate that. It's a shame we just don't have a better national solution to the subject. That's my comment on that, and thank you.
And I appreciate, could you please read the, about the notice for the consumer? I think you use some very eloquent language when you talk about how it has to be displayed.
in your amendments on page 2, the disclosure required under the paragraph, and that paragraph is referencing if you're selling data, shall be prominently displayed and use clear, easy to understand and unambiguous language to state whether the consumer's information will be sold or shared with a third party.
To your point, good delegate, because you're right. I would love for the feds to have stepped in, but I don't see that happening in the next 10 to 15 years. And at some point, we have to, as a state, lead by example. And I'll say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And so to your point, we've tried our hardest to say, of course, this isn't perfect. It's not a silver bullet, but we could sit back and do nothing. So this is where, culmination of a lot of hard work. And I do appreciate your reservation. I see where you're coming from. I don't like doing patchwork legislation. I think that everybody knows that, especially on a state level. I don't like counties doing different things if we can get it all done right. But if the feds can't get it done right, and then here's a downside of that, when you go to another state, their values aren't necessarily ours too. And so you end up unintentionally, just by doing anything, creating a patchwork, because you see different states have different values and different standards for corporate responsibility. So I do appreciate that. I want you to know everything was taken into account as best we could, and this is the best work product we can come up with. So thank you. All right, do we have any other questions, guys? Okay, that's what it is. All right, I think it's been moved, probably seconded. All right, if there's no further discussion, we'll get on with the voting. Mr. Vice Chair?
Aye.
Delegate Harrison, Delegate Boafo, Delegate Howard, Delegate Charkoudian, Delegate Rose is excused. Delegate Pruski, Delegate Fennell, Delegate Turner, Delegate Valderrama, Delegate Chi, Delegate Frazier Dago, Delegate Adams, Delegate Aaron's, Delegate Pippy, Delegate Jackson, Delegate Johnson, Delegate Rogers, Delegate Amprey, Delegate Weigel, Delegate Fisher, and Delegate Queen. Bill passes as amended. Next bill, please.
Senate Bill 729 requires the employer of a security guard providing security guard services on the premises of a healthcare facility to report every 7 days to the Secretary of State Police on the number of code greens initiated for combative persons and code purples initiated for security only responses.
Okay.
And I believe that the House bill is in line with this bill that we just voted on, correct? Is there any amendments? On the bill moving favorable, are there any questions? Hearing none. Mr. Vice Chair. Delegate Harrison. What? No. Let's keep it moving. Thank you. Delegate Boffo. Delegate Howard. Delegate Charkoudian. Delegate Rose is excused. Delegate Pruski. Delegate Fennell. Delegate Turner. Delegate Valderrama. Delegate Chi. Delegate Frazier Dago. Delegate Adams. Delegate Aaron's. Delegate Pippy. Delegate Jackson. Delegate Johnson. Delegate Rogers. Delegate Amprey. Delegate Weigel. Delegate Fisher. Delegate Queen. Bill passes favorable. Last bill, please.
Senate Bill 808 is a bill where ENT is primary and they held the hearing. We designated 3 members to go to their hearing. This is on anaerobic digestion technology. The ENT passed the bill with an amendment. It says, as amended, the bill requires the Department of Agriculture to coordinate with MEA, MDE, Commerce, University of Maryland College of Agriculture and Natural Resources, UMES, electric companies, farmers, and industry to ensure anaerobic digestion technology projects are appropriately coordinated, and then provide guidance for farmers who want to implement anaerobic digestion technology, including specified information. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes the phrase "not unduly delayed" and substitutes "appropriately coordinated." So this way, the bill as amended says MDA has to coordinate with the agencies to make sure that projects are appropriately coordinated.
Move the amendment.
On the amendments, any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none on the bill.
Bill's amended.
The bill is amended. Any discussion? Delegate Charkoudian.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been trying to figure out what the bill does or what it's trying to do. We have, a couple of years ago, MDE established permitting guidance for Maryland anaerobic digestion facilities. That was September 2022. And it has a lot of the guidance that this bill is asking for. As my best sense of what it's doing is trying to help small farmers be able to establish these systems for their on-farm systems, but I can't, I guess I get concerned when it looks like we've done everything that's in a bill, and I'm not sure what is happening with the bill. So it leads me to wonder what I might be missing. I guess maybe I'll say it that way.
Let me see if I get my vice chair to explain it. Go ahead, sir.
I mean, I watched the hearing. I saw the hearings. I mean, you can explain what you know, but I did go online and watch the hearing, and I still don't understand what it's trying to do beyond what we've already done, like what we already have.
Are you cutting me loose to answer the question? Okay, so I mean, in the bill, you can see University of Maryland Eastern Shore, which is an agricultural university, Division I. It's an academic institution that is
I'm familiar
partnering with
it.
local farmers to advance technologies that give you alternate ways to use these products for anaerobic digestion. Without the bill or without anaerobic digestion, what do you do with the waste? So that's that's the purpose of the bill, is to make all available technologies, of which this is one, partnered with academic institutions to advance clean energy goals in ways that are helpful. That's
I
the
mean,
bill.
let me put it this way. I'll just say that what the bill seems to be saying looks like we've already done in terms of establishing the guidance. I support small farmers to be able to use this technology on their farm to support on-farm electricity generation, which I think at the small scale is what's done. But I'm just, I guess I do have concerns about large scale anaerobic digestion of manure. And I think that needs to be done with a lot of care, a lot of permitting, a lot of focus, and not streamlined, which is what this seems to be focused on. So if this is really about small farmers, which I feel like we've sort of got addressed already, but maybe we don't, then I would be supportive of it. If it's really about the larger industrial systems, I have concerns, and I feel like those ought to be established with more structure.
I mean, if we're already doing it,
Okay.
what does it matter? What's to your point, like, we're already.
Well, we often don't pass bills when we think we're already doing it, which is why I'm just trying to understand what this does that we're not
Well,
doing.
this time we're passing a bill and you think we may be.
My question is, what is it accomplishing that I'm not tracking?
If it's already being done, nothing. If it's not being done, it's accomplishing anaerobic digestion.
And I just to be clear, obviously we try to be good stewards of the laws in the state, but also sometimes we pass bills along, especially when it comes to our colleagues on the Eastern Shore and these different areas, almost as a favor to them to identify, look, we understand this is your need, and to the best of our ability, we're going to support it. And a lot of these times, these folks don't spell, especially in an environmental setting, that we hear anything that they're saying. So these bills are sometimes just gestures of goodwill, and that might be indeed what this bill is. So if that's the case, like I said, it's really no harm, no foul. I understand if you have some issues with the bill, because it sounds like we're already doing it. But I also say that many times we do have some bills out there as gestures of goodwill and good faith to let them know that their voices and their needs are heard. Delegate Adams, you look like you have something else to say.
I mean, I'm the chair of the Eastern Shore delegation. I believe this is for small farmers and it's for innovative technology. It partners with a university in Somerset County, and it's a good bill. I don't think there's anything nefarious about it. And
Sure.
Yeah.
Delegate Queen.
Oh, I was just going to comment, just looking at the bill, the Senate bill. The one thing I did see that stood out with me was the amendment that included the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, which is HBCU, which we would want to be part of this process.
Correct. Yeah. All right, any more questions or discussion on this bill? Hearing none, I guess we'll do a roll call. Delegate Crosby, aye. Delegate Harrison, Delegate Boafo, Delegate Howard, Delegate Charkoudian. Delegate Rose is excused. Delegate Pruski, Delegate Fennell, Delegate Turner, Delegate Valderrama, Delegate Chi, Delegate Frazier-Hidalgo, Delegate Adams, Delegate Aaron's, Delegate Pippy, Delegate Jackson, Delegate Johnson, Delegate Rogers, Delegate Amprey, Delegate Weibel, Delegate Fisher, and Delegate Queen. All right. Bill passes unanimously through both committees. Again, colleagues, we do have bill hearings tomorrow. And we'll be voting most likely again tomorrow. Thank you guys very much. Did you ask what time? I have no idea. So, oh, he said, they say hearings at 1, so it depends on how long you guys want to talk. So I'm guessing hearings at 1, and we'll vote immediately after the hearing. Thank you guys very much.